Xenoblade 3 spoilers, because that's all I do, things with spoilers in. Do you know how many spoiler warnings I've had to make in my time? Way too many. My last Sunday went as follows. 5 a.m., finished Xenoblade 3. The next 24 hours harbor a feeling of emptiness in the pit of my stomach that felt like I swallowed the literal void of nothingness, because this game is crazy. It's one of the few stories I've ever seen with an ending that is happy, that still punches harder than tragedies. It's a tearjerker of a celebration to complete, at least if you're the type to cry during a sad story, so, not me. The word incredible used to literally mean not believable in a negative sense, and if it still did, I would dedicate my life to changing it into how we use it today, just so I could describe this game as incredible. The writers really looked at how high the bar was set by Xenoblade 1's story, and still jumped over it. And it's one of those things where I've had to really sit down and think about every aspect of each of the three games to really pinpoint exactly where it outshines its predecessors. And I gotta say, I think it's the villains for me. Not Z, because, I mean, Z isn't really that interesting. We learn absolutely nothing about them other than the fact that they're evil because they want to be. The most compelling antagonists in the series have been the ones with good backstories. Klaus, a researcher working to create a new universe to save humanity from its own self-inflicted destruction, developed a god complex, and upon the activation of his somewhat failed experiment, he wiped out all humanity and created two separate worlds instead of saving the one they already had, and in the process also split himself in half. One half embodied his god complex, and he created life in his own image and ruled over them, killing them and recreating them to his heart's content, while his other half embodied his drive to fix the world, and so he did his damnedest. Jin, easily the best antagonist in Xenoblade 2, had negative feelings about Blade's life cycles, and after learning that one of his past selves held the same feelings, and he learned just how cruel humans can be, he followed the wrong person down the wrong path, and he had to make the hardest choice any being ever could, and it haunted him to the end. I can only think to describe that writing as good shit. Each game has had an antagonist so well written that they've managed to single-handedly carry entire scenes on their backs, even when there's so many other well-written characters also present. And Xenoblade 3 has a character like this, who is on a completely different level from the rest of the antagonists in this story. N, or Noah, was caught up in a loop of life and death just like every other soldier, where they'd be born, fight, die, rinse, and repeat, but his loop was not exactly the same. He would always meet Mio, make his way to the city before he would die, either by having his life cut short in combat with Mobius, or from passing Term 10 and fading away. After life lost to the point that even Z made comments about the amount of times of facing him, he broke, and Z gave him an impossible choice to make. All the other soldiers who became consuls accepted their new power without hesitation, as it was the solution to all their problems with no drawbacks. Yorin hated being what he viewed as a powerless loser, and was offered power by Z to be on top for once. Dirk was a psychotic murderer, and then became a valuable asset to Z because of his usefulness as a hitman. But Noah, he wasn't a psycho, and he didn't view himself as a weakling, but what he couldn't stand was seeing Mio suffer the same fate as him, the same pain he knew all too well. In exchange for doing Z's bidding, Noah could live with Mio for all of eternity, and Noah made that choice fully well knowing what two things he was choosing between, and after hundreds of years of servitude and killing, Mio and Noah's good traits faded until they were effectively dead. Now all that was there was M and N. Their old selves were so dead that they reincarnated into the cycle again. And that is an insane backstory where it has a direct impact on everybody. New Noah and Mio learn about their tragic past and think deeply on how to better themselves so it won't happen again. It builds up Z into even more of a sick fuck than we already knew he was, and it can make the player reflect on their own perspectives, because I know that happened to me. I am like many people who have thoughts about stopping time and when exactly I would want to if that were to happen. What moment would I want to relive forever if I had to pick one? That's just something people think about in our world, because there's no telling what time has has in store for us, and that is a scary thing. And so we think about reliving the moments we know are good instead of thinking about making new and better ones where we may also have a chance to experience more negative events, because it just seems like the safer bet. We know not how cruel the future can be for us, but Noah did. He knew all Mio had in the future was more death and sadness at the end of the path, with only a few flickering moments of good in the middle. And so when he was offered the chance to keep her from that pain and an endless now, he accepted it, and sadly I have to say, who wouldn't with choices like that? But this didn't help anything. In fact, it made things worse. She may have been sheltered from pain and death, but the price they paid was too steep, coupled with the fact that she then had to live an endless life of servitude to Mobius and see the person she cared for the most grow cold and merciless. It's no wonder all she longed for was an end to the endless. And when she finally got that end snapped, his Mio was gone forever and he was left in complete despair. And after this, the last bit of Noah was gone, and now he had nothing to fight for, because he wasn't fighting for Mio anymore because Mio was gone. He was just doing it for vengeance. At that point, he officially had nothing in common with his own reincarnation other than the physical appearance. Noah hates killing. He would only do it when he had no other choice, whereas N was looking to kill in vengeance. N bounces between being somewhat sadistic and angry, while Noah is caring and calm, even going as far as to send off some of his greatest enemies and mud, literal people made from mud. The two of them don't even fit the description of two sides of the same coin anymore. They're two different coins entirely. And so they set up this spectacular antagonist, and they still manage to build onto his character in a way that doesn't ruin him entirely, which is just mind-blowing to me. When the reincarnations and the rest of the Ouroboros get captured, Mio is separated from the rest of the team because she was only a few months away from her 10-year life cycle's end, which would cause her to fade away. And N knew that if Mio were out of the picture, Noah wouldn't be able to keep fighting. And so, Noah could only sit there powerless, knowing Mio would be gone in only a short time, and this is where he hit his all-time low. And after the Offseers send off who we think is Mio with an all-too-familiar melody, it is revealed that M and Mio switch places because M couldn't stand the endless anymore. M said when talking to Noah that she didn't want to call him by his name because she'd be admitting the truth. If the reincarnation is Noah, then N no longer is, and she'd have nothing left in the world. When N learned the truth, the tables turned in an instant. Noah still had Mio, and now N was by himself. And that same hopeless despair that Noah felt, N was now feeling. This then gave him a whole new drive and reasoning as to why he wanted to end Ouroboros. And obviously he didn't achieve that, because that would be a shit ending to a phenomenal game, but that event set him up perfectly to be another boss fight in the closing act of the game. His story and circumstances are quite unique, but are still at its core in line with the other consoles, because their stories are sad, where people who feel as if they're weak, don't fit in with the world, or have ill feelings towards the war, are promised an endless now where they have all the power they could ever need. But it's all just a farce. Nothing is endless even in a world frozen in time, but they don't know that, and so, when after years of absolute power, something doesn't go their way, they immediately push their power past its limits and grasp at straws to no avail. They were just people with poor luck or had some problems, but they couldn't find help because of the conditions of the harsh and terrible world they live in. When they slip into despair, they are given a choice: eternity or the same thing over and over again. It's such an extremely hard decision to make that even when Noah had to choose between the present and the future, after defeating Z, he couldn't immediately come up with an answer, even fully well knowing what the path of the endless now looks like. He knew that the only eternity granted to Mobius is after they spend decades reigning as tyrants, when they're finally brought down by the Ouroboros, never to be reborn again. And that is some damn good story writing. See you around. Unless I don't.